Marketing Podcast is a podcast where we talk marketing, tech, business, and leadership. We talk these things for real estate agents, real estate investors, and real estate entrepreneurs. The Real Estate Marketing Podcast is a podcast that has two purposes. Purpose number one, to educate and inform our audience and listeners. Purpose number two, Bonnie, to spotlight you, your business, your service, or your product in a way that provides value to you, including market exposure and content creation. With that, I'm very excited. We have a special guest, one of my friends and close business partners, I can call her Dr. Bonnie Juul. Dr. Bonnie Juul is an expert in wellness, health restoration, and healing. She is a chiropractor with advanced training in advanced muscle response testing techniques, nutrition, emotional healing, aging, and longevity. She earned her Doctor of Chiropractic degree from Parker University in Dallas, Texas. I didn't know that, Bonnie. She has a practitioner training and expertise in nutrition response testing, emotional freedom technique, the journey, Reiki, neuro emotional technique, Psyche, holistic kinesiology, body energetic technique, and yoga for chakra opening. Her educational background also includes a Bachelor of Science degree in Health and Wellness and a Bachelor of Science in Anatomy. Dr. Bonnie is the founder of Quantum Response Testing. Her vision to shift the paradigm of health to one of longevity and vitality with a respect for and understanding of innate wisdom and personal choice. To support this vision, she teaches people how to use muscle response testing at home. Her practice is based in Carbondale, Illinois, St. Louis, Missouri, and she can be contacted through her website at drbonniejuul.com. Bonnie, that is an impressive bio.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
You're absolutely welcome. So, Bonnie, tell us a little bit about your story and how you got into what it is that you do now.
Okay. Well, I was raised as a university kid. And so I was very much part of the establishment, I would say, and how the establishment thinks and how we're supposed to do things. I got my master's degree in teaching English as a second language. And my first job was in South Korea. In order to go over there, I needed a lot of vaccines. So I got the handful that they gave me. And a few months later, I started having some health issues that nobody could figure out. I started having panic attacks, severe anxiety, and I was a pretty chill person, always a little bit intense, but no major traumas in my life or anything that you could point a finger at. So I came back to the United States, went to all sorts of doctors and specialists, and finally got referred to a psychiatrist because there was nothing medically wrong with me. So they diagnosed me with hypochondria. And I said, no, there is definitely something wrong with me. My symptoms besides the anxiety was some intense pain. And I couldn't sleep at night because of the pain. So I would try to sleep in 5 different places. And what it came down to was I had vaccine toxicity, or called vaccine injury. It took me, because of the vaccines that I had, it took me about 20 years to restore my health. And so that's how I got into it, was fixing my own health. And one of the first techniques that I went to was a muscle response testing technique, because I had been introduced to that when I was 12 years old. And that was something that I knew that I could rely on, that was out of the box. So I started getting my health back. Yeah. So that's kind of the long story, I think.
That wasn't long. Well,
Okay.
What is so you say like muscle response testing. Could you tell us what that is?
Sure. If for anyone who's in the alternative health world, which I think the majority of people are not, it is a familiar phrase. For those who are not into it and who are newly introduced to it, I like to describe it as a natural biofeedback method to assess what's happening in your body. And so it works with pushing on an arm. There's a video about it on my website at drbonniejuul.com. However, just to briefly explain it, it's a way to get immediate feedback from your body on what's affecting it, positively or negatively.
Thank you. Now, you mentioned like alternative health. What is alternative health? What does that mean?
That means health, getting health advice outside of the regular medical community. So a lot of people, like the way that I was raised, is something goes wrong with you, you go to your medical doctor and you take whatever pill they tell you to take, you take whatever shot they tell you to take. And whatever their advice is, that's what you go on. So in the alternative health community, you're looking at things more closely with nutrition. So while the medical community does have recommendations for nutrition, those recommendations keep you just healthy enough to still need your medications. So in the alternative health world, we start looking at how can you support your body with nutrition that's going to actually get you off medications. And we have a track record of getting people off medications.
Thank you. So some people might watching this might say, what does a doctor and health have to do with like real estate or marketing? If they pose that question, what is your perspective? What would you say?
If you are not feeling 100%, you cannot perform 100% in your business. And for getting your health spot on, if you're suffering from any anxiety, depression, low energy, can't focus, all the paperwork you have to do and focus on, all that there, if you can't focus, that is something that can be directly linked to what's happening nutritionally with your body.
Thank you, Bonnie. I appreciate that. And while you were telling your story, something that you mentioned is like what you went through. And uh, we, like, the basis of this podcast is like real estate and it's like marketing, right? I get most excited about marketing, and that's how we know each other, through marketing. So you were telling your story and you mentioned like what you went through and essentially how you were like your own avatar at some point. So can you take us through that process and maybe explain to our audience like how that translates so they can better understand who they should be marketing to or serving based on that avatar and that
As
process?
far as an avatar, okay.
Yes.
I love talking about avatars because the avatar is who you love to work with. So I used to think an avatar meant who I needed to work with or who might want my service, but it's better than that. It's who makes my heart happy when I work with them. And one recommendation is to look at who you were 5 years ago. And I think it can go even earlier than that. And so for my avatar, it's somebody who has tried everything medically and they're not as healthy as they know they can be and should be. So they've gone to all the doctors, they've gone to Mayo Clinic, they've gone to Vanderbilt, they've gone everywhere, and they're still not feeling good and there's something wrong with them and they don't know what it is. And usually it comes with somebody in the medical community saying, well, that's just the best that you can do, or that's just the way it is. So sorry, just keep taking your antibiotics, keep taking your shots, whatever it is. So that is one part of the avatar that I have. The other part of my avatar is people who have been attracted to my business, and I've fine-tuned that down very, very specifically. It's Christian women, drive SUVs, have three children. They pray before they make decisions. And the first goal is to serve God versus yourself or anyone else.
Some people might say, Bonnie, that's like so narrow. What would you say about that avatar being like narrow and so focused and specific?
I would say, thank you. I did a really good job. So when it's that narrow, then those people will be attracted to you. But then people who are slightly interested in it will also be attracted to you. So it's like a magnet to people that you're best serving. And then other people will be attracted as well. Like the marketing program, Jerome, that you and I met in, neither of us are perfect avatars for that. Like, I'm not a man.
Right.
But other than that, I'm a great avatar for that. And so I might get Christian men, which I recently was reached out to by a pastor who wants to learn the quantum response testing, which is a muscle response testing that I teach people that they can do at home. And so that's without me really trying, but I have the avatar, so that magnetizes people.
Yeah, and so what you mentioned and what I've realized, like that avatar to me, where we met, like like Dan Kennedy, who calls you Brad Spall Bonnie, right?
Yes.
Um, The avatar, I've realized, like, it's like when we're working on avatars and we're working on marketing, we like figure out like this. We go through this process, like, what do they look like? What's their skin color? What's their age? But deeper than all of that stuff is like the psychographic. Like, what are these people thinking? How are they thinking, like, mentally? And so we're not the avatar externally, right? But mentally, we're the avatar. And I to me, it's called the psychographic.
Yes,
So I always tell people, like, I'm like, if you can figure out the psychographic, you can like literally start reading minds. And
that's
I
awesome.
have this book that our coach recommended, Dan Kenny recommended, like, it's called Reading. And I started reading this book, and it really started to help me see like other people. And you can like almost literally read people's minds. So when I'm talking to people and I'm having discussions, I can like see what they're thinking, understand what they're feeling. So what's your perspective on like psychographics and some of the stuff that I just said?
Well, first is, can you hold that book up again?
Yes.
Everybody write it down. The Full Facts Book of Cold Reading. Okay, I'm gonna need to get that book because I
Yeah.
don't have
He
that book yet.
recommended this. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, if Dan recommended it, it's worth reading for sure. Oh, I'm sorry. What was your question? Oh,
Talk
reading.
about psychographics and the importance of it. Your perspective,
Yeah,
your opinion.
it's like a superpower. Like what using the language, because when you get into the psychographics, what we do is we figure out the language that they use. And when I start using the language that's right for my avatar, and most of the language I've gotten by listening, really, really listening to what they say. And so when you're in the presence of somebody who's your perfect person who you love to work with, listen for exactly what they're saying and how they're saying it, and start repeating that back to them. And just the eyes lighting up and how they gravitate, and they're like, oh yeah, what you said, that absolutely, I need to work with you.
Yeah, so I forgot the question. It slipped my mind, but I'll ask you the next question and maybe it'll come up. So one of the things that I know about you is I heard you tell the story before, like about being like the best doctor and being like this amazing doctor, and then people not like knowing. And it's like, well, people don't know. It doesn't matter how great you are if you're not marketing yourself. So can
Yeah,
you talk about that and help people understand the importance of like marketing, getting yourself out there, attracting customers, etc.?
sure. So with my academic, being raised in an academic community is always about more degrees, more knowledge, and that's how you get ahead, because what was prized was the letters behind your name. And then when I entered the real world, well, what I consider the real world, the world of everybody else, it didn't matter. What mattered was can you help me? Can you help me? And I wasn't answering the question, can you help me? I was saying, oh, I have this training, this training, this training. Like in my bio that you read, I have so much training, but probably anybody reading that is like, I really don't care. Can you help me? And so so I'm going to change my bio, by the way. Thank you for helping me with that insight. I switched it to what do you need? What are you looking for? You're looking for how you can get the muscle response testing, but you don't want to have to run to a doctor all the time. It's filling the need of what people are. And you want to get the answers from somebody who's a true expert. Well, I'm that person. And so that's priced accordingly. You can raise the
Thinking,
prices. Yeah, you put yourself in a niche. And I know that if they follow the recommendations that you give, you help them put themselves in that expertise mode.
and you. So that's my next question. I want to know, like, from your perspective, right? If somebody came up to you and they're like, Bonnie, I need help. I need help with my marketing, or I need help figuring out my avatar. What's one piece of advice you would give them to get them started down the right path?
Listen to I think what I said earlier,
Yeah.
listen to your perfect client. Who's your favorite person to work with? And listen to them, what they want, what they need, what they're struggling with, and listen to the exact words. So a lot of times what we'll do is somebody will say something like, I think I killed my kid. So this is one of my, I think I've killed my kid I've destroyed my kid's life because they had that vaccine. It's all my fault. I've totally messed them up. So that's something that they're actually saying versus how I might switch into it is, are you concerned that your child is harmed from vaccines? One is fluff and the other is in the heart and super painful. So listen to the words that are coming from the heart.
One of the things that a lot of people struggle with is like getting like the information from the avatar. Like most people, you've seen it. We went through the coaching program together. People come in like, why is there no database of just all of the avatar information? Why do I have to go out and do the work? Like, what's your perspective on that? Did you have this? Did you have a similar experience? Like, what's your opinion?
Yes, it's if it were easy, everybody would be doing it.
That's what I was looking
Right?
for.
Yeah, and it is challenging, and I think there's no database for it because some needs are pretty. I think some needs don't really change, but you're looking for the perfect for you, and as there is only one you, there is only going to be one avatar for you. So you would have to find your identical person to yourself to get the perfect avatar for yourself. And there's only one you. So you can't. I don't see that that's possible. I mean,
What
if I
was
could do
your
it, I'd be a millionaire for sure, like that.
right? What was your biggest challenge with marketing, and how did you overcome that challenge?
My biggest challenge was my training in how to think about marketing, doing what everybody else was doing, trying to follow industry standards was my greatest challenge.
How did you overcome that?
I signed up for the course that you and I met in, the implementation coaching. And it took my coach at least a year to get me to like do some good changes.
So, can you talk about? I'm like a huge advocate of coaching. Some people are like resistant to coaching; they don't understand the benefit and how it can benefit them. Could you talk about that? The benefits of coaching. What's your perspective? Should people pay for coaching? Should they do it all free themselves? What's your opinion?
If you don't mind taking years to learn something, then definitely do it on your own. If you have years ahead of you to do all the grunt work, then don't get a coach. If time is important to you, then find somebody in your niche who's already doing and has already gone through that process to learn everything, because they will turn that right over to you in that coaching program. So I am a big fan of coaching. Obviously, we met in a coaching program. I've always had a business coach, a personal coach, a health coach. I've always had a coach of some kind. And that has always helped me be at the top of my game, I would say. And I hesitated there because I never consider myself really being at the top of my game, as you know, and there's always more to learn. And as long as I am learning from somebody who is at the same level or at a level ahead of me, then that will raise me up.
Thank you, Bonnie. So, one thing I want to ask you is like it's a little off track, but it's relevant to marketing. Is like books. Like we went through this program and we start understanding the importance of having a book. So I try to teach my students the same thing. It's like, oh, you should go post a book. Oh my God, why would I post a book? I just want to sell houses or invest in real estate or whatever it is. And it's like, well, if you have a book, it can help. Can you like, what's your perspective? Like, I know a book is not necessary, but can you give us your perspective and talk about how it makes things so much better for your marketing and speaking engagements, etc.
So I would say that it makes everything easier. So there's the writing the book part, which can be a struggle. I know I've looked at your system and it's amazing and really shortcuts it for people. I went to my first event recently where I had all my books out, and you become a superstar of sorts. It does take effort to write a book. Fortunately, Jerome, you have laid out the foundation for people to make it much easier so they don't have to go through what you had to go through to figure it out, because you're letting them know the system. And the people are looking for symbols of authority in who they're getting advice from. And when you've written the book on real estate, when you've written that book, you are the authority. You are automatically, kind of like me wearing this you might have looked at me and said, oh, she knows what she's talking about. Whereas if I weren't wearing it, you might not. So this is also by design. Jerome, you always wear a suit, so that, and a tie. So that is also a symbol of authority. And your book is one of the best symbols of authority that are out there. People can't help it. In their minds, they just think you're super smart. And you don't
And
have
you
to.
are.
Well,
And
thank
you
you.
are though. Yeah. So can you tell us, you have a few books. Can you tell us about, if I were to, I'm like, you know what, I want to learn what Bonnie does and how this is relevant to me. Where would I start? Like, you tell me where to start, like which book, because you got a few books and I want to learn a little bit about those books.
There are three main books that I have. The first one I wrote was Vim and Vigor, Escape the Medical Merry-Go-Round, Reclaim Your Health, and Live a Long and Healthy Life. That one lays out everything that you know to be extraordinarily healthy, and healthy enough that you can actually exit the medical system. And because your health gets so good, you don't need medications and all those interventions. Now, I wrote the book because what I was seeing was that some people would be doing one part, but not the other two, or they'd be doing two, but not the third part. And so there's really three main parts that need to be attended to. And the people who are able to do those are your highly functioning entrepreneurs and business people. Those are the ones who are able to take that on most easily. Now, one of my other books is Intuition, Faith, and Freedom. On that one, I talk about muscle response testing and how you can use that at home. And that one, it's called Intuition, Faith, and Freedom because while you're learning muscle response testing, your intuition grows. You find that you end up having greater faith, and that gives you so much freedom in life. So most people who go through the program, they're just like, I'm just not worried about stuff anymore. I trust what's happening. You can use it to make business decisions, to support you in making business decisions. Make sure you use logic as well. And that is a great one if that's something that you'd be interested in. The final, it's a trilogy. So the final in that is Visualization to Manifestation, Why Visualizations Fail and How to Make Yours Succeed. And that one, I'm known by a lot of people as a really great manifester, where I say I want something and then it happens. So I walked, and people have asked me to walk them through the process. So that is basically a book walking you through the process. And once you figure out the process, it only takes a few minutes to implement.
Thank you, Bonnie. How can we get those books?
Those are available on Amazon, or you can go to drbonniejuul.com and I'll direct you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So I want to try to get us a little wrapped up.
Okay.
What I do, let me see. So I want to ask you about some books that help change you and who you are. So tell us 3 books that you would recommend to the audience and why. You just gave us your 3. Give us 3 others that you recommend and tell us why you recommend those.
Okay. I would recommend Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil.
Okay.
That one is a really good, I'm imagining everybody watching this has already read Think and Grow Rich. So this book talks about the difference between yourself that is walking in faith and yourself that is walking in fear, and how that shows up differently in your life. Let's see. Your book, if you want to pull that out behind you, Jerome. Yes, Real Estate Marketing Implementation. That's a really great book. And I think even if you're not in real estate, that's a good book, because I read your book because as you know, I'm starting to have questions about how to get into real estate and what to do, because I do have one rental property, and so I'm looking to expand that. And I think your book lays a great foundation. I also know that you were trained in the paradigm of Dan Kennedy, and that you've been involved for years. And I trust anybody who follows those principles. And so I think your guidance is really solid for that. And then a third book. I'm just going to go back to Napoleon Hill because those are the ones that I've read most recently. I'm always reading something, and the Napoleon Hill book, it's called something like "Wealthy with Peace of Mind,"
Okay.
and that is so important because as long as we have peace of mind, if you can create peace of mind in your wealth, then and with your finances, then that will spill over into your health as well. Because what we're trying to get to from a health standpoint is peace of mind. Because when there's no stress or limited stress, our bodies can be healthy. And
Thank you. So
so
I blindsided you a little bit. I know
yeah,
we have a question on the movies. Give us 3 movies you
right.
recommend
I
and
had
why.
those planned. Those
Yeah.
I So, so they're the three that I put in my book, Visualization to Manifestation, because they're ones that are where somebody is faced with something that's a challenge and they overcome it. So, one of my favorite all-time movies is Last Holiday by Queen Latifah. And it's a comedy, and in that one, she is told that she only has a couple weeks to live, and so she reassesses her life and uh, has an amazing experience. It's really funny. I won't share the ending, but it is a comedy. Aaron Brockovich with Julia Roberts. So that's somebody who the big industry was poisoning her community, and people were getting really sick, and so she took on big. She was a nobody, and she took on big industry. So that's an example of how no matter how small or uneducated or whatever you think you are, just stand in your purpose and keep taking action, and amazing things can happen. The other one is Pursuit of Happiness by Will Smith. And that is a man who was he was in poverty, and he took custody of his son and then was just very dedicated to creating prosperity for himself and his family. And it's the real life story of what happened with him. And that's also an inspiring story. So no matter how low you think you are, you can watch one of these movies, especially Aaron Brockovich and Pursuit of Happiness. Those are based on true stories. So highly recommended.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Bonnie. So in real estate, we have this thing called like the closing table, and the closing table is like, man, it means it's wrapping up. You close the deals, you sign the paperwork and everything like that. So at the closing table, I don't know, I'm messing up a little bit. At the what I want to ask you, I want to ask you some bonus questions. So I jumped the gun a little bit. I want to ask you
Okay.
bonus questions. These questions are like meant to. The reason why I incorporated these is because as entrepreneurs, we do a lot for people, and sometimes people just don't return the favor, or they don't look out for us and understand what we're trying to do. So that question I have for you is, how can someone add immediate value to you or your business?
Well, I will just say the first thing that comes to mind is get one of my books, that whatever resonates with you, and implement it.
Okay,
And
perfect. That's
give me a great review. But yeah, implement some of the books that I have, because
and
they're there to help your life.
and how do we get that again? Mention it, because we got to tell people stuff multiple times.
DrBonnieJuul.com.
Okay, perfect. So when people ask me like the that question came up for me, I'm like how can I like what is it? My answer is what you said. It's always just buy a book. Just buy one of
Yeah.
my books. Go from there. Next
Yeah.
question is very similar. Is how can someone add long-term value to you or your business?
For long-term value for my business, well,
Or you?
word of mouth, long-term value is write a review.
Mhm.
If something resonates with you, join my community and learn more. For long-term value, though, I would say write a great review of one of my books, and that'll be there
Okay.
forever. Or a
Have
video.
have
Yeah.
and I have a selfish reason for doing that too, asking those questions, because I like to give the value to people. Have I done that for you yet? Written a review on your book?
I don't know that you have.
Okay, we'll take care of that. I'll take care of that offline. So,
Okay.
all right. Next is let's see. Let me go up. Let me scroll up to my questions. Oh, okay. So we can get ready to wrap this thing up. The way I like to end it is I like to like normally people end with like a closing statement, right? And I had this guest on. Her name's Dewan, and Dewan was like, I don't let people have a whole statement because some people talk too much. And I was like, okay, all right, let's see how this goes. And I appreciated the way she did it. So she was like, I give them one one word. They can only say one thing. They can't explain it. So, I pose to you the same thing, Bonnie. Give us one word to close us out.
Believe.
Believe. Okay, perfect. Now, tell me why you picked believe.
Believe in yourself, believe in possibility, believe in the good that God has for you. It'll all happen.
Okay, thank you, Bonnie. I appreciate you, Bonnie. This was exciting. I appreciate you so much, and I'm glad to know you. I'm honored. So we're gonna wrap up. You're gonna stay on for like 5 minutes because I know we got to
Okay.
wrap up. But thank you so much for your time today, Bonnie.
Thank you so much.